Hey guys, it's Mark from Aztec, and today we're going to be building a PC, a gaming PC. So, many of you guys have seen past videos. Here is the Xeon, the Zonnda build, with the motherboard I got from eBay that basically the seller disappeared off the face of the earth and want their money back. Shout out to Greg for these hot Trident Z RAM sticks that I won on your podcast. Looking forward to using those in a future build, but those are DDR4. We are at DDR3. We're going to be throwing in the Red Dragon RX 580 solid state drive. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so basically if you haven't seen the other video, I'm going to go through it really quick. Was building a gaming PC for my nephew, a budget build for my nephew, with around the Intel i5-2400. And so I needed a motherboard. And so I ordered this motherboard and I contacted the seller. I had a question or something, never got back. Motherboard got to me, but in between it coming to me and because of the lack of response from the seller, I decided that I was going to order another motherboard, and the whole thing was there was only 2 DIMM slots and not 4. And had he gotten back to me, I probably could have lived with it and threw 16 gigs of DDR3 in the 2 RAM slots, but they didn't. So when I did get this board, I got the other board. I used the other board, of course, because I was too nervous about this one. And then I contacted the buyer. I contacted eBay. eBay gave me my money back. I was to return the motherboard. I tried several times. It came back. Failure to send because the address was not found. I contacted eBay. Basically, eBay said if they contact me to get an address and send the buyer their motherboard back, and then the buyer basically took off the listing. So the motherboard works. I just wasn't happy with the fact of the way the buyer treated me as a seller, or I'm sorry, the seller, I keep saying buyer, the seller treated me as a buyer on eBay. But nonetheless, I'm not going to let the technology go to waste. So we got the motherboard, and underneath the hood is a Xeon E3 1230, which you've heard a couple times. We did the other build, waiting on this piece. That was the other caveat. The motherboard didn't come with a backplate, so I had to order one from China. Anybody who's ordered from China before knows it takes a little bit to get this stuff. So we did get it. We're going to throw in 120 gig inland solid state drive. We're going to put in, don't let the box fool you, we got a EVGA 500 watt power supply in here, which I will show you that because it's not 550. We used the 550 as well as the case we're going to use for the Xeon with another build so we could sell it, which it did sell, by the way, which was the HPMD. So we have an issue. This is the 400 watt. Where's our 500 watt? I know where it is. It is in the old compact that we were playing with the other day. Wow, I made a mistake. But we're going to take this 500 watt power supply, which I'm going to show you. I'm not going to take it up in front of the camera, but I must have got wedged in there. But there it is, 80 plus. So there's our power supply. I forgot that I used another build to ensure that it worked. RX 580, not the 400 watt power supply, but the 500 watt because we will need it to power the Red Dragon. And of course, the case. So we picked up from Newegg the Zonnda-O Black from DIYPC. And I really wanted this case for a long time for a couple personal builds, but I never did get it. So now I'm going to do it for a build I'm going to sell. So we're going to get that B-roll going, check it out. Unfortunately, we're going to have to remove that battery out of the power supply. Let's talk about this really quick as we're going through though. Let's see, before we roll that B-roll. So this is the compact PCIe CR1151NX, which you can see. This is probably one of the last compacts that were made before they were taken over. And you're going to be surprised by this. So a buddy of mine gave this to me basically when I first got into flipping PCs. I was always a software guy, not a hardware guy, but he said it won't work. He said the computer's shot. And when I turned it on, it was shot. So this is the Franken computer. I've used this to diagnose many other projects because it has the power of PATA and SATA. And yes, most of you won't know what PATA is, but if you needed to know, you're probably around my age or you just love old technology. It's super old. So it's been gutted and put back together and gutted and put back together. The problem is that it has a Intel Pentium 4 670 one core processor at 3.8 gigs though. This is a really nice, it's probably one of the best old processors you could get for this. Today it actually has an HD 7450. You've seen me use this card in many of builds to test out the graphics, ensure it works while waiting for a real dedicated card. And we put in a 240 gig Samsung hard drive. It has 2 gigs of DDR1, yes, DDR1 RAM. I tried to put 4 gigs in, but for some reason these 2 DIMM slots don't work. I've tried to use an eraser and dust different, it just doesn't work. Also a caveat with this board is that not all the SATA plugs work, but it's a workhorse for what it has. Believe it or not, it has Windows 10 Pro 32-bit on here. It is the 1903 version, but there was nothing I could do because I needed 32-bit, and that's what they offer. But you couldn't just use a USB to put Windows on here. I had to actually clone the drive by using, to wrap it all together, this motherboard. So basically I installed Windows 10 32 on this motherboard with that hard drive, took that hard drive, put it in there, and made it a home because it will only run 32-bit even though it says it can handle a 64-bit instruction. I don't think the motherboard can. The CPU can, the motherboard can. And they still want like 40 bucks for that motherboard, which I'm not paying $40 for the motherboard because that system will never see a 2080 or I don't ever think it'll see Battlefield 5 without it like being really sketch. But it was a point to prove to my buddy that we could get it working, and it's been a godsend ever since because whenever I need to diagnose something and I don't have whenever I need to test something and I don't have a computer to do it, I pull this one out of the closet, unfortunately, and it's always come through. So on that note, cue that B-roll.